Welcome in, welcome back to my channel, Hostess of the Gnosis. If you're new here, welcome to the weirdness. Please keep in mind I do cuss and I do navigate the full spectrum of divinity, of the spiritual realm, what have you. I embrace darkness just as much as I do the light and everything in between. So if you're not comfortable with darkness or the shadow, I understand if I may not be for you. However, if you're willing to give me a shot, I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you are returning, thank you so much for your continued support. It really does mean everything. Okay, so let's dive in, shall we? Okay. So what I was getting before I got on is a message about the subconscious and imagination, of course. Those are the darker realms, okay? Those are the realms that are kept usually from the light of awareness by either people thinking that whatever dwells there is too far-fetched, too fantastical, too whatever the label they want to shove on it, to exist, okay? And so the place where it does exist is like a holding place, the imagination and subconscious, alright? So it seems that the message today might be relative to that, or it just might be something that they wanted me to mention. So just keep that in mind. That's too many at once, okay? The one that came up though was remember why you came, alright? Alright. Also, they're wanting me to tell you guys to keep your eye on the sky, okay? Pay attention to patterns in the sky and the clouds, alright? Go with your gut feeling on what you see and not on what everyone else may agree for what you witness to be, okay? Ooh. Alright, that's still too many. How do you just one or two at a time, please? Clumsy today. Alright, we have, of course, Lilith. Well, there's actually two, or did I pull, whatever. Anyways, this is interesting. We have Lilith and Selena, the dark moon and the light moon, okay? And, like, I'm really big on this, because, like, I'd even say, anyways, like, dark and light, whatever. The dark moon, repressed feelings, emotions, surfacing, darker sexuality, the shadow, secrets, dark dreams, and raw feminine power. And we have Selena, the white moon, the conscious self, the higher self, inspiration, melody, and inner light. Ooh, and my hands are trembly all of a sudden. There's been a spike in energy when those two came out. Okay. Ooh. Okay. Alright. That's too many at once. Thank you. Let me get one more of these, please. Alright. That came out as two, but one, ooh, it's this one, fell on the floor. Not all light is love. And that's interesting that it landed on the floor, because it's usually, a thought such as this is one that people usually just toss to the side, and they don't want to understand that, not all light is love. Discernment is sacred. There are smiles laced with poison. There is truth wrapped in shadows. Trust what your body knows before your mind explains it away. Oh, I love this. Exactly. And that goes into, the subconscious and the imagination, what is it? The subconscious is where, the body's inherent awareness resides, okay? It's knowledge, its own sort of consciousness, okay? I'm loving this. So you might be coming in or have been discovering that, there's more than just light and darkness. There's all this space in between, and it's room for balance, okay? And that's why there are so many, okay, is because for every little spectrum in between light and dark, there is a very niche little sweet spot for each and every individual, okay? That balances the whole as these, fractured aspects come into alignment within self, okay? And if people are, continuing to deny themselves and trying to fit into boxes that are more comfortable for others, then, it's going to keep those energies that are looking for a place to exist outside of self bound in darkness, okay? That's what I refer to as the underworld, okay? The realm of darkness, where things that hold potential to become reside, and that which is put back in to be cycled through again, okay? We have healing, 68. Habuhaya. That's an interesting name. Habuhaya. Okay. We have luxury, but I don't know because the way it slid off. Fertility and fruitfulness. I'm going to put it back because if it comes out again, it was meant to be seen, but that was interesting how that slid. Like, what's the balance between, full luxury and, a nurturing and supplication, what have you. That's 2. We have, ego and hatred. It did fertility and fruitfulness, wow. Anyway, that's interesting. Healing, ego and hatred, fertility and fruitfulness. Yeah. Okay, so that whole thing, some of you might be discovering, the importance of ego, what it means, what it actually is, the purpose it serves, okay, the role it plays in existence. Ego isn't something to be, cast aside. It's just something like anything, to be raised up. It goes a lot into reflections, okay? And I've talked about this in my prior readings. There's a big point in soul's ascension to where you stop mirroring everyone else around you, or mirroring mirroring energies and projections back at someone, and you become an embodiment of yourself. You reflect just yourself. No one else's energy can shift what you choose to reflect outward, okay? And a big part of that is, owning your ego. Who are you? You are who you are. Okay? And that whole thing of hating the idea of ego and stuff like that, and how the integration and healing can bring about such profound fertility and fruitfulness, okay? Your shadow holds so much power, gifts, and everything that are just simply awaiting that balance needed, so when it does surface, okay, it's used appropriately, because these are very powerful energies, and if you aren't prepared to harness them properly, okay, it's just going to end up in more pain cycles, more being shunned away, okay? We have athlete, seeker of vitality, exercise, life, strength, speed, butcher, ruthless, cruelty, slaughter, traveler, seeker of horizons, adventurer, experience, long journey. Okay. So, with the cards out already, okay, this is interesting in the way that they are laid out with these cards above them. So, like, healing, life, strength, exercising that potential that has been, just kind of dormant within yourself, okay? And then butcher, ruthless, cruelty, and slaughter. Okay, so as you start to heal your perception of what it means to be alive, what it means to live, okay, what do you live for, things like that, you begin to see in a different light how we treated aspects of ourselves, okay? It's very ruthless and cruel, and it is a form of slaughter to continue to hack away integral aspects of yourself, just because it exists differently, okay? And it's waiting for that balance, and you get to decide that. That's a huge honor and privilege to be taken seriously, is to be able to hone that substance into whatever you need, whatever you know, as long as it's authentic to you, kind of thing. And then Secret Horizons, adventure, experience, long journey, fertility, and fruitfulness. Exactly. So many aren't going in the direction they want to go on their journey and are feeling emptiness because they have chosen to carve off these aspects of themselves, right? And on an energetic level, okay? So I can tap into the collective subconscious, okay? And I can also pull what is in alignment with me from that, okay? And you can too, all right? But it has to be something that's done with integrity and truth, okay? And so whatever's rejected by the collective that's left there, okay? It's like you can go in and find what is in alignment with you and choose to bring it into yourself and raise it up to become more, okay? And in that, you're able to bring forth what you know will bring you true joy, true abundance, and everything on your specific journey, okay? So many people are, you know, eager for magic, and I'm not talking about base level magic. I'm talking about, you know, what our souls remember magic to be, okay? But they continue to deny its origin. They continue to deny the realm where it resides, okay? And it's a subconscious fear, all right? That whatever is there is going to hurt you, or it seeks to, you know, deceive you, or what have you. And it's like, but you're deceiving yourself is the thing. It's kind of ironic, you know. All right, let's see. What else do you want us to know about this, please? Okay. Long haul. In it to win it, long-term intentions invested, yes. Ego and hatred, butcher, ruthless, cruelty, slaughter. Okay. 2 came out. Alright. We have lost, ghosted, cowardice, disappearing act, and then head over heels, falling in love, intense emotions. This is very interesting. I'll get to that in just 1 second. Let me get the other one over here first. That is very interesting. Yep, I saw a card peek. Alright, we have harmony, balance, peace, and happiness. Yes, that's the whole thing about balance that I was, balance between the two, okay? Darkness and light, alright? They both exist for a reason, as well as everything in between, okay? And on the bottom we have, ooh, legal court paperwork filed. Juicy. Okay, so with the healing aspect, you know, being in it to win it, you're invested for the long haul, okay? You're starting to understand the meaning of life, what healing truly means. It's not about, you know, sitting and just meditating or putting your feet in the grass or like, what motivates you to do that. Okay, it's these motivations, it's these things at the root of your actions. Okay, what's dictating them? Is it true to you, or is it just something that you were told to do? Okay, and that part can be a bit confusing, but if you continue to move naturally on your own, on what resonates with you, you know, like you can be inspired by someone else, don't get me wrong. I mean, having different things presented to you to try, you know, is fine. But trying to force something to fit that just clearly isn't working, you know, refusing to progress because you're like, well, it worked for this person, so it must work for me. Like, you know, there's different routes for a reason, okay? It's for us to choose from. And for ego and hatred, with this ruthless cruelty, slaughter, And then I think it's interesting. I need to move this because this one was seen first before the swept up one. Okay, because this goes in a certain order here. The way that it was translated to me. All right. So ego and hatred. It goes to this ghosted, cowardice, disappearing act, like abandoning parts of yourself, right? But then coming rushing back all of a sudden, trying to get swept up in these intense emotions because you're trying to get back those parts of you. All right, but you may not know that those are the parts that you're trying to reach out for. And so while they're dwelling in darkness and they're trying to reach out to you, I'm here, and you're going through all these intense emotions and stuff. It could also be that you've discovered where these are. All right, and you're realizing that the hatred toward those parts was an act of ignorant cowardice. Okay, and so you're experiencing some very intense emotions at this time, falling in love again with that aspect of yourself, which is a very big, like, it potentates that integration. All right, it can really give a surge in that process, okay? Which is interesting because I felt that surge of energy when these two came out. And then with fertility and fruitfulness, harmony, balance, peace, happiness, like I said, like balancing the two, okay, to create this balanced whole, all right? Well, this is nice and just kind of to the point, huh? I like it. Not having to jump through hurdles. Okay, where do I want to go? 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. My youngest daughter was trying to mess with the cat and he scratched her, so I had to put a little Band-Aid on and clean it up a little bit. Nothing serious or anything. She's young enough, she's still learning that animals, they don't speak like we do, and how to respect their way of communicating, just letting her know that he didn't like what she was doing. Okay. So what else do you want us to know regarding this? What is this maybe looking like reflected in the lives of the collective at this time? What do they look for in their external to compare this to? Draw parallels from? But yeah, I guess is yelling at her sister right now. So if y'all hear any of that, please just let it ride. Kids will be kids. Are you not wanting me to use this deck? Maybe a different one? I was drawn to this one. Okay, sorry about that. I had to pause for a second. Anyway, so we have short, beneath, someone seen as less than. Okay, and then we have public versus private, self-image, two-faced. Okay, so this could be about you, and how you interact with others or yourself, or it could be letting you know of someone else close to you, that these behaviors, okay, might be giving you some insight as to why people do act the way they do. Okay, when people feel like they're beneath someone else, or are made to feel like they are less than someone else, that's just like with consciousness, even the whole term of subconscious, like you think of it in terms of species, if you were to say like subhuman, okay, like that's kind of insulting, right? Public versus private self-image, two-faced, okay, that's of course who we are when no one's watching, and who we are when others are around, and how much of a stark contrast of a difference is there between the two, kind of thing. We often find that, especially when, like, we live with others, sometimes it's our parents, sometimes it's our significant other, our children, you can notice the way that people act around others versus the way that they act when it's just you and them, or when they think they're alone. And it's very telling. It's where the truth is, you know what I'm saying? And what's not said, and what's trying to be hidden. And, bonding with the subconscious and the shadow will help give you insight into this to where people cannot hide from you, okay? You'll be able to see it, you'll be able to feel it, because it'll communicate with you. Ooh, that's kind of like just like the cat scratch that my daughter had. It speaks a little differently, but it will speak to you, okay? Through sensations, through evoking images in your mind's eye, okay? Things like that. Those of you who are familiar with intuitive awareness, you are already familiar with these sensations and everything. So it's one of the gifts that can come of that is, and it doesn't matter if someone's face-to-face with you or they're texting you on a phone call, okay? You'll be able to hear and feel into that, what they try to hold back from you, because you're tapped into that realm. Like, that energy, it being cast into that darkness doesn't hide it from your sight, because you also see in the dark too. Alright, time to consider what's behind the curtain. Peeking behind the veil, planetary influence, look beyond the stage, okay? Go play outside, put your feet in the grass, let go, let loose. Go outside, let go of life's bullshit and just try to relax. Let your inner child out to play, have fun. Exactly. Okay, so again, like peeking behind the curtain, looking into the shadow is to look beneath the surface. It's to face what everyone else chooses to shun. And it's not always something bad, okay? There's a lot of wonder and magic and absolute such beauty to be found there, because that people do still push that away too, they give up on their dreams regardless of how much their dreams still believe in them, and so that's where they go. And letting your inner child out in your external world, you don't have to go start acting like a lunatic or something. It could be as simple as just going outside, putting your feet in the grass, tilt your head back and spin when it first starts to rain. Let the rain fall on your face, and just not give a flying fuck about what anyone else thinks when they're looking. Like, oh, if someone were to see me, what would they... Who gives a fuck? Really? Okay? Alright, we have burning, fire, destroy, disaster, complete loss. And then we have uninhibited feminine sexuality and prowess. Interesting. Alright, so that raw feminine power. Okay, this here. Alright, for a long time it was seen as something destructive. Something to be ashamed of, but the fact of the matter is it's like handling fire, it will burn. But, if you get to know it and you know how to use it, it's like the difference between lighting a candle and then, like, just setting up a pile of wood in the middle of your floor and lighting it on fire. Like, there's a way to do things. There's a way to handle it. Alright, and then, handle it, yeah. Pulling the strings, handler, okay? So a lot of these energies that, influence people to behave like this, are trying to, by proxy, influence, that creative force to try to manipulate it into doing what they want. So what can be manifested outwardly is in alignment with their system of control. That's what their ultimate goal is. And that is so much of the feminine energy, is that untamable, fiery, seductive force. And it's not bad, it's not evil either. It's when it's out of balance, it can cause disruption, but it's supposed to, okay? when systems are getting out of whack and nothing's being handled, you know, you can look through countless different ancient texts and find reference to, like, Sekhmet, for example. Okay, Kali, for example. These are very important roles to help burn away what does not need to be anymore. Alright, but if you don't want to go the destructive route, then you're gonna, you know, you have to be able to face these aspects of yourself and give them a place to exist in harmony, inside and outside, alright? Otherwise, you leave yourself open to being manipulated because of the way you're choosing to restrain yourself and the reason behind restraining yourself. Like, why are you... Like, it's totally different when it's like, you know, don't go, like, walking around in your backyard naked when you've got, you know, kids living nearby or, you know, some creepos hanging, like, whatever, okay? And totally different than, you know, going somewhere, private and dancing naked or something. I don't know. I'm trying to give a fucking whatever. Anyways. But it's either they pull the strings by convincing you that the way that you are is too much or a problem or this or that, okay? And we all know how that goes. Alright, the card that fell out is Alchemy. Alchemical process. Alchemist, not a witch or practitioner. Transmutation of energies or situations and works with dark and light. Okay, so what are the ways that you can make sure that you're not being handled by anyone other than yourself and acting in that sovereign mindset is to work on that inner alchemical process, okay? And then we have bingo, gambling, playing games, expectation, keeping count with end notion waiting to come forth. Okay, so it's people that are gambling on a certain outcome, all right, and they, whatever stakes that they cash into it are with the expectation that, you know, something will work in their favor. All right, and, you know, that's what makes the sovereign mind so dangerous to them, is because you can no longer become something that they can cash in on, okay? It becomes something that has to be earned, something that has to be, like, they have to rise to meet you, and, you know, they can't just pull strings and expect you to act a certain way, because they can't scare you into submission. They can't make you afraid of yourself or what you're capable of, okay? Because you've balanced yourself out enough to understand that when they give you these extreme examples, you can be like, yes, I understand that that's how others might do it, but I am not them. I am who I am. Okay? Fuckboy player, a male who can't control his urges, thinks with the head between his legs, has let their genitals be the seat of consciousness. A dick. Okay? And exactly, that's usually, this is what they're wanting to, serve. Okay, and it's more than just sexual desire. It goes into all sorts of primal urges that lie in ignorance, and, you know, we could still exercise, like, our primal urges in ways that are healthy and productive and bring us closer together, but it's okay, thank you. But in the way that this is referring to is you know, they may not even see it in all the ways that everything, that every decision, every act stems back to their genitals. Okay? And it's like that's what they choose to serve. Everything in their life is tailored to serve that part of them. Even the existence of another. Okay? Such as the feminine collective. Because they set it up to where they even do it to each other, you know? It's a mess. But that's what happens when you could even have aspects of yourself get to where it has such a hold on you that it takes over, you know? And that's why that inner balance and work is so necessary and important. And then we have to the bone, can see through, x-ray, integrity, depth, deep perception, see things differently than others do, deeper. Exactly. as you rise and you start to, if you're in the, whether you're a male embodying feminine energy or you're a female and you're rising into embody that feminine aspect, it forces others to have to, even just by interacting with you, take a deeper look into themselves, okay? It stirs something in them that has been dormant and shoved away, that when you give it attention, it knows that, and it starts to rise up because you are there. Not because the person holding it or trying to hold it back, it's because you are there and it recognizes you from that unseen space, okay? Listening, hearing, pertaining to the ear, music or frequency, okay? Okay. Okay. All right, hearing beneath, hearing between words, all right? Learning how to hear the energetic signature beneath the noise, okay? Learning how to listen in silence, because silence isn't lack of sound, so to speak, okay? It's actually, if you are familiar with silence, you understand how full it can be, all right? Justice, balancing, weighing things against one another, okay? All right, so this could also be in regard to senses, like being able to see beyond just the sensory perception, okay? Your spiritual self and your biological self coming into balance, okay? Weighing things against each other, okay? So is what I hear in alignment with what I feel, and is what I feel in alignment with what I inherently know, okay? Things like that. You have to, it's a whole thing where it's like weaving the tapestry together within yourself, and as you have these, you know, synchronicities and stuff, it's like pulling a thread to get the seams to come back together, okay? And then we have calling a spade a spade. The truth is what it is, no sugar or decoration necessary, okay? And then know the fruit you hold and act accordingly, or divine poon, okay? So those who are aware of you know, the power of the womb and a woman's reproductive organs. I'm not going to get into it right now. You know, do some research. If you know, you know. If you don't, then, you know, familiarize yourself. But there's a reason it makes them so crazy. You get what I'm saying? And it's okay to call a spade and let them know that you see it. You see beneath all, like, they can sit there and have all these nice sweet gestures all they want to. Is it because they truly care, or is it because they want access to that food? You know? I mean, it's a question worth asking. I mean, love is love is love, right? But this could even be something within yourself. Is that something that you rely on too much to get your way or to maintain peace? Okay, then wealthy female, balanced female, healthy sense of self. Okay, yeah. Being able to call a spade, knowing that, knowing that part of yourself, that energetic center of yourself, how to use it, what it's for, and also what the power of influence it holds in and of itself, and using that in a way that's not only beneficial to you, but it also in alignment and in harmony with the right of others to exist in their way, in their truth, as it is for them, okay? Reference to Persephone eating seeds of the underworld. What are your thoughts made of? The whole mind, conscious, subconscious, and imagination, okay? And how it also pairs into the vessel. Alright? This goes into what I was talking about with the imagination, and, you know, why do you think the way that you do? Analyzing these thoughts, okay, of the pineal gland opening, the open of the pineal, spiritual insights and communication, welcoming the unfamiliar, receptivity to the universe, and ability to navigate beyond the veil. Alright, that's being able to come and go from the underworld, you know, whole reference to Persephone. Alright, because the seeds that she ate represent integral parts of herself, what she took from the underworld of herself and carried out with her into the upper realm, okay? And then pertaining to the mouth, speaking verbal secrets, taste, and lips. That's also, what you hear versus what you speak. Like I was talking about, the balance between the sensory perception and how it's used versus, your spiritual perception, your train of thought, so on and so forth. How do these things align and work together? Blah, blah, blah. I get a couple of these and then we're going to call it because I think, I'm pushing on a little long, so. Oof. Alright. This one says, powerful intuition connection with source. Handler bullshit. Alright, so don't let handler bullshit, what source are you connecting with, okay? Are you connecting with the influence of, the source influence of the handler mind, okay? Or are you focused in on your source of self, okay? This gets into some very tricky territory because it reveals something that is pretty rampant. It's very difficult for a lot of people to face. But whatevs. X, hybrid, horns and antlers. Ooh. Alright, so many of you are, if you know, you know. Okay, I'm not gonna... Anyway. If you've broken free from that handler, okay, that had such a hard grip on your perception, in your awareness of self, you start to understand the hybrid nature of consciousness, okay? And I'm willing to bet, I'd be willing to bet, okay, that those of you who have taken the time to go into that underworld space within yourself and start to co-create that space, what you found there, who you found there, has horns or antlers in some form or fashion, okay? Because that has been there since the source fractured, you know what I'm saying? It's a whole thing. Anyways. Some of this, is just... These are all supposed to be confirmations and, clarification on what your truth is, what you already know. I'm not here to dictate anything to you to make you think some certain way or what have you, okay? Caught chasing using names of power, and they're about to get fucked up. So those who use names of power or chase clout by having you with them, some people will use their significant others as a way to make themselves look better. It's a way to decorate themselves because they don't look the same without your presence. Okay, so check yourself. Make sure you're not partaking in that. I don't feel like that's the case, but it's worth saying, worth mentioning. Everything I say is with love. It's never to judge or to belittle anyone. It's just to love someone is to, make sure that... Okay, this goes way deeper than you think, but deep down you know exactly. How willing are you to face that inner truth, that deep down inner knowing, whether or not anything outside of yourself is reflecting it back to you yet or not, because that's the only way to get it to start to come through. We have angelic. Okay, that went flying. Alright. They struggle to accept your calling and embrace or discover their own. Okay? Those who have no boundaries and it's hard for them to say no or speak up for themselves. Alright? And read between the lines and think outside the box. Okay, so you can also, if you so choose, if you've been through this journey and you understand the ins and outs of it and you've, trudged through the bullshit to get to where you could find yourself again, you know how to read between the lines and think outside the box, and you might want to help others find that way in a way that's gentle without forcing it, okay? That's if you choose to. You have no obligation to do anything for anyone else. I mean, that's totally up to you, what you choose. Alright, scared as fuck, yeah, I bet. These ones that thought that they had this lie in the bag are scared as fuck because the subconscious is waking the fuck up. Yep. Infatuation, multi-trans, interdimensional, okay? if you think of the planes of consciousness as dimensions, okay? The subconscious, the underworld being another dimension, okay? These do have reflections outside of self also. So you have to, you don't have to, but to stop and think and reflect on that is quite profound when you think about it, and some of the things that, seem to be approaching the sort of orbit of this plane we exist on, okay? You touched my soul, you made love to me without having even laid a finger on me. Okay, this also goes into that whole thing of having been into the underworld and learned how to co-create there and how to pull forth what you found there, okay, into the external. Alright, cheater. And then you help protect and guide sacred bloodlines. Okay, so the cheater thing is like people might. Okay, so hold on, let me get. I don't want it to come out jumbled up. So, the whole thing of, weaving in and out of these dimensions, okay, into the highest dimension of mind, as in logic, reason, so forth, and then digging way down low into the depths of the underworld, the subconscious, imagination, okay. Some people could possibly, because I'm hearing through the subconscious that some people wonder if it's a form of cheating, like spiritual betrayal of some sort, to dive between. Like, you don't have to choose sides, okay? You don't have to. You rising into your truth and owning it as it is and rediscovering it is not a crime, okay? And it helps to protect and guide bloodlines that are sacred. And it's not that, any one is more special than the other. What this has to do with as far as bloodline goes is like genetics holds memory, okay? Genetic memory, all right? So this just goes simply into your bloodline, yourself, and what you're going to be putting forth, what you're going to be doing with this awareness, and, how you are breaking that cycle, okay? We have divine masculine arriving into your reality. Ooh. Alright, so that might be what cheater's about. If you're with somebody, what's within is going to be stepping out. Okay, so, if you're wondering if because you are in a relationship on the external, if it's considered cheating to your internal counterpart, no, it's not, because they understand. It's an inherent understanding. They're aware of it. They know it, and they know the moment that they step forth, it's not going to be a problem. Okay. All right. A new connection will come of this. Being different is a blessing in disguise, and understanding you were fed a false dream. Okay, the false dream being the reality that was tailored around you, that they have been. Oh, this is beautiful. Remembering what you were loyal to from the get-go, and how this whole system was set up to be a diversion from that, because it wanted what you had that it could feed off of, okay? As where your original loyalty was to that which nurtured you from the inside out, not distracting you from the outside in and bombarding you, bombarding your perception, your senses, and all that, because the vessel was never meant to be used like that, okay? But I'm going to leave it here. I know it sounds a bit, but for those of you who, if you know, you know. If you have the ears to hear this, like, you'll hear it, okay? And maybe if it does sound a little strange, maybe, just sit with it for a little bit. Maybe just kind of let it linger as you're doing your day-to-day stuff, and maybe some dots will connect. Pay attention to the songs you hear, to pieces of conversations that your ear just happens to pick up on, okay? Things like that. It might help connect some dots and help provide deeper understanding as to what this is referring to, if you don't already know, okay? And some of it could be making sense. You just haven't had a way to place it within yourself yet, which is fine. That'll come as it's meant to, alright? And yeah, I hope that helps somebody out there. I love you all, and until next time.